Well, we know the same globalists. I don't even like to call them globalists, right? I like to call them what they are. They're communists. They're Marxists. This is the same war that we have been fighting against the elitists from the first day. When we fought King George, he was a Fabian socialist. And when we fought him for our freedom, it was for our freedom. And then we fought the Soviet Union, and they were more of a control type communism/socialism, but it's Marxism. It's the belief that the state is God, and that you are a commodity versus that you are given God inborn inalienable rights, and you are a free sovereign. That is the difference. And they want, because wars were unsuccessful, they want to now force you through crisis into accepting what millions of people have fought and died to prevent, just so they could be free, just so they could own their patch of land to raise their family.
Hold on. I'll go ahead and let you answer that. I have someone in the chat room that's having technical issues. If you guys can just cover for about 2 minutes for me.
Certainly. I've been dying to ask you a few questions on the financial stuff, Bob, because that's an area that is just I don't have that much time to go into. I've had some information, and because I'm not sure on how devaluation and revaluation and stuff works, about 2 weeks ago I received some information that said that the banks that received TARP money were going to be revealed to the public, along with the Christmas season numbers, would begin the collapse starting about 2 weeks into January that would lead to revaluation. But the time frame, because I don't know what it would take to go through that, I thought you would be the perfect person to ask to explain how that would work and if my information is accurate.
Well, I've seen relatively or the same information, and it's too hard to put a date on it, but it takes time for government to decide when to devalue. They can anticipate what's going to happen, although it may or may not happen. But I have sources in the banking community who go to the Federal Reserve meetings, and they have told me a number of things just recently. Number one, that there will be a devaluation late next year. They didn't give me any formula. And I had previously been talking about a Smithsonian-type meeting. Those are the meetings that were held in the 70s. And then in 85, the Plaza Accord, and then in 87, the Louvre Accord. And they were essentially planned devaluations and revaluations. And I think we're going to go through the same thing late next year. I believe that all currencies will be revalued or devalued against one another. I think that country-to-country debt, probably 2/3 of it will be eliminated. I think the dollar will be officially devalued, and the public will receive one new dollar for 3 old dollars. And I know that, well, that's my estimate. It's nobody else's. I backed into it, and that's what my guess is at this point in time. They've also talked about doing away with the FDIC late next year, so that no accounts will be insured. And the reason why is there is not 252 banks in imminent danger. There's 2,035. And to pay that off would cost about $1 trillion. And so they don't want to do that, and I can understand why. And so FDIC is going to go the way of the doo-doo bird. And they didn't mention this, but I think the same thing is going to happen to the organization which is in place to take care of companies that pay for insurance and when they go bankrupt, and take care of the pension plans for 30 or 40 or 50 cents on the dollar, that sort of thing. The pension benefit, I can't remember the name. It's one of the ones I can never remember. Pension benefit something plan, and I think that one's going to go away too. And I think that over 2,000 banks will fail this coming year, maybe as many as 2,500. I think the following year, at least another 1,500 are going to go under, and maybe more. There is a move by the central banks to consolidate banking, and instead of saving banks, they're letting them go under, or they're letting them merge. And so there's a lot of mergers which won't be counted as bankruptcies that will happen in the healthier of the smaller and medium-sized banks will be absorbed, if you can believe this, by the major banks, which are all bankrupt, too big to fail.
That's amazing.
And so these are some of the things that are coming down the line. In January, I projected that the government needed $2 trillion in stimulus. They got $800 billion. The president said today he's coming back for more. How much will they get? I'll guess at probably about 400 to 500 billion. We'll say 500. And they've also, the administration has asked for the piece of the TARP funds which are coming back to the Federal Reserve. They get about 150 to 200 billion in cash right now, and they want everybody to turn the money back in, and that's why banks are floating stock issues so that they can get the money to have on their balance sheet so that they can give that money back. No, the Fed wanted to withdraw that money from the economy because it's going to cause hyperinflation. But if the administration wants it, and how much they'll get, they'll probably go after 300 or 400 billion. And so that'll give them $1 trillion if they get it. And that's what they hope to hold the economy together with next year through the congressional elections. That's all they're thinking about. And they don't care whether anybody gets a job, believe me.
But some parts of that have to do with, I know one of the reasons, or at least my information says that if they don't do another bailout, we'll go into deflationary depression along with,
and that's correct.
At the same time.
That's correct. They will.
Explain to people what that would be like, because a lot of people.
Well, it'd be like the 1930s, only worse. I mean, we already get 21.9% unemployment, and if they went ahead and the Fed didn't contribute any money, they took it out of the system. Let's say they took $1 trillion rather than the $1.5 trillion out of the system, and at the same time, there was no stimulus package at all. We wouldn't have inflation; we'd have deflation, and we would go into a deflationary depression. And this may be the time that they want it. I don't know. You know, we know the two options, and all we can guess is at what they're going to do. And so when you see Congress act, well, you know they're going the inflationary route. If they don't act, get ready for deflation and over 50% unemployment.
I can't believe that they can come out and say the unemployment is now it's lowered to 10%. I don't know how that's possible.
Well,
I don't care if it is only 10%.
Categories.
How do you say it's under? Go ahead.
They have 6 categories, and the important one is U6.
Right.
U6 includes U3, which is that 10% figure you're talking about, and it includes people who are discouraged and no longer look for work, those who are no longer getting checks from the state for unemployment, those who are involuntarily working part-time. The average work week now is 33.2 hours per week, and that's about 10 million people, incidentally. And if you put it all together and rip out the birth-death ratio is something dreamed up in 2003, and it's supposed to allow government to compensate for gains and losses in employment in small and medium-sized companies. But what they do with that is they guess. They make it up. It's bogus. It's a lie. And it's about 185,000 jobs a month on average that they're making up out of thin air. And if you extract that, that's how you get the 21.9%.